do this based on an approach of sustainable and comprehensive development. By the same token, it's important for the various international financial mechanisms to activate concessional lending, that they design and implement long-term and medium-term measures to ensure the achievement of the 2030 development agenda. Fellow President, our planet, our common home, our Mother Earth, still is suffering the terrible consequences of consumerism and excessive depredation of natural resources. And once again, we believe that the capitalist system is one of the main causes of the climate crisis. Based on the cosmovision of indigenous peoples, there is an interdependence between human beings and nature. This is why, as a state, we are promoting a new model of coexistence for the well-being of our people, which our people call living well. It promotes a change in the approach to life, leaving behind predation, irrational competition, and excessive consumerism, and this insatiable search to accumulate profits at the cost of Mother Earth and the life on our planet. This approach, this cosmovision of our indigenous peoples, is valid for all the peoples of the world, because what capitalism in fact is putting at risk is humanity itself, nature itself. Now, to take the path towards living well implies that our public policies and ways of life be in harmony and in balance with nature. We must restore our relationship with Mother Earth, because what's at stake is our survival as a species. The growing threat represented by non-economic risks for financial and macroeconomic stability. I'm thinking of the climate crisis, obviously. This has demonstrated the need to formulate policies that help in us move towards a new economic model. Now, consistent with our thinking, we have developed a Bolivian vision for the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We are proposing that all states parties meet in the framework of the COP26 in Glasgow, work together, and we would like to suggest the following for this. Based on this. Number one, the only real solution to eliminate the increase in temperatures to 1.5 degrees Celsius requires distributing the carbon budget among countries based on the criteria of climate justice and based on the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. Number two, the main capitalist countries must assume the climate debt and the historic compensation toward the rest of countries of the world through financial cooperation, the transfer of technologies, and the development of capacities, thus implementing the agreements that have been signed to date. Number three, it's essential to incorporate the knowledge, practices, and experiences of indigenous peoples and nations in building societies and ecosystems that are resilient to climate change. Number four, there's an urgent need to strengthen and step up efforts of countries to fight the climate crisis. In particular, the approaches that are not based on the carbon market. Efforts should be effective in reducing domestic greenhouse gas emissions. We are convinced of the urgent need to reform the global architecture that guides financial, investment, trade, development, environmental, and social policies around the world. Now, in this same context, we welcome the holding of the Summit on food systems, because the health and the life of humanity depend on their access to food. We must strengthen and acknowledge the important contribution to the economy and preservation of nature that small-scale farmers and indigenous populations make. By the same token, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate this assembly for the very important decision adopted in declaring a decade of indigenous languages, which will begin next year. Languages transmit culture, knowledge, skills, and the history of peoples. This is why it's important for our states throughout in these years and in the future to promote actions to revitalize and strengthen indigenous languages, which are part and parcel of the cultural wealth of humankind.